You may recall that at one of our services in April, Reverend Dr. Wandra spoke about the importance of finding a true teacher. Today, hopefully, I can build on that by sharing some thoughts on what makes Shin Buddhist teachers and students, the both of them, authentic. On the screen is one of my favorite photos by Janice Hirohama that nicely illustrates today's theme. What is taking place in this photo of Sunday adult study is Dharma listening, the most characteristic activity or practice on the path of Shin Buddhism. Let's consider what gives this activity its claim to authenticity. I will preview the conclusion by saying that the teacher is, first and foremost, a student, just like the listeners in the photo. As direct evidence for that, here is another of Janice's photos showing Spring Ohigan Seminar in 2019. We can say that the man in the foreground, Reverend Harada, is an authentic teacher because throughout his life he has retained and deepened the student's spirit. The Japanese word for this type of person is gudosha, one who seeks the way. Unless one seeks the way, it is not possible to teach the way in Shin Buddhism. Here are 4 images that you may recognize: Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, Shinran Shonin, and Reverend Harada. Of these 4, ask yourself which of them should be considered our two fundamental teachers. Think about that. Well, in my view, Amida Buddha is a teaching, not a teacher, so we can move on to the other 3. And although Reverend Harada is the teacher we know personally, it must be said that he is only the representative of the 2 teachers who are indeed fundamental in Shin Buddhism, namely Shakyamuni and Shinran. It was Shakyamuni who first expounded the teaching about Amida Buddha. Then, 16 centuries later, it was Shinran who rediscovered the full implications of this teaching. No other teacher equals these 2 in importance, at least from today's vantage point. And while we cannot meet Shakyamuni or Shinran in person, we can indeed meet their present-day representatives. What should we expect such a meeting to be like? How does the authentic teacher share the Dharma? To illustrate one type of approach, please take a careful look at this image, which is a powerful depiction of a student's initial encounter with his teacher. The painting was made 420 years ago by Caravaggio, who was a master in the use of dramatic lighting to tell a story. The manner in which the light is being cast helps us to understand how the student-to-be will come to regard his teacher. See if you can notice some of the important details in this image. Who is the prospective student, do you think? Who is the teacher? Well, first of all, we see on the left here this group of 5 men gathered around a table where it appears they're engaged in counting money. I will give you a clue by informing you that this is a tax office. The 3 younger men at the table, wearing uniforms, are soldiers who have been out collecting the loot from the taxpayers. The man with spectacles, that's this man, well, he appears to be a bookkeeper. And then this man, in the center of the group of five, this man, turning toward the light, is the chief tax collector. Suddenly, his life is interrupted by the two men who have just entered from the right. The teacher beckons with a simple command, "Follow me." The startled taxman hems and haws, "But I'm busy right now." However, the chief disciple of the teacher, the man standing in the front there on the right, knows that it's a done deal at this point. The light has been seen by the taxman, and he will indeed become a disciple. It's a powerful image of a dramatic encounter between a student and a teacher. Now, I share this with you by way of comparison with authentic Buddhism, where a different approach is taken. We should not expect to meet a teacher in this manner. The historical Buddha does not say, "Follow me," but rather invites the spiritual seeker to come and see for yourself. The Dharma is visible in this very life, immediately effective, inviting one to come and see, relevant so that sensible people can know it for themselves. The Dharma is not presented as a divine revelation. The Buddha says it is visible here and now to the seeker who chooses to come and see it. Hence, the personal qualities of the teacher are not of great importance. One does not take refuge in the teacher's personality. Instead, the role of an authentic teacher is to connect us with the Dharma, which is our true refuge. Having shown us the Dharma path, the teacher encourages us to go forward. Whether we do so or not is a choice that each person must face. Shinran was faithful to the spirit of the Buddha's teaching, as illustrated in the following statement. Beyond this, whether you take up and accept the Nembutsu, or whether you abandon it, is for each of you to determine. And he stated, "I do not have a single disciple. It is indeed preposterous to call persons my disciples when they say the Nembutsu, having received the working of Amida." Although many people, including ourselves, I was just asserting this, many of us have viewed Shinran as a Buddhist teacher, he saw himself exclusively as a student, specifically of his own teacher Honen and of Honen's predecessors, going back to Shakyamuni. Seeing oneself as a student is the key characteristic of a person we might regard as a Shin Buddhist teacher. And generally speaking, when we meet such a teacher, we are simultaneously meeting a group of students, that is, a Sangha. And the learning in this Sangha cannot be purely academic study, like we were in college again. In a Shin Buddhist Sangha, there must be learning and then self-reflecting in light of the teachings. As Shinran states, the right Dharma is indeed something wonderful, transcending things of this world. Let us therefore feel no hesitancy in listening to it and reflecting on it. When I meet with authentic teachers and students in a Shin Buddhist Sangha, I am changed by the experience. First, my worldly values are challenged because, as Shinran states, the right Dharma transcends the things of this world. My way of seeing the secular world cannot remain as it was. In that sense, I am like the taxman in the Caravaggio painting. The light of the Dharma has begun to reach me. However, it's not only my worldly values that are being challenged. Shinran's Buddhism is also challenging my spiritual values. I am made to question the values of both the secular world and the religious world. It's why Shinran states that the right Dharma is indeed something wonderful. It transcends my attachment to both secular and religious things. I will share a nice analogy to help you remember what makes the Buddhist teacher-student relationship authentic. Consider the humble outlet strip. As you know, electrical current is entering the outlet strip through its power cord over on the right. The current is flowing out to various devices through extension cords that are plugged in as shown. The outlet strip is a humble object with a vital purpose. Although generating no current of its own, it enables the current that it receives to be transmitted elsewhere. We don't much admire the individual features of an outlet strip, such as its shape or color. We admire its ability to transmit current to where it's needed. By now, the meaning of the analogy must be obvious to many of you. The authentic teacher-student relationship is analogous to the relationship of an outlet strip to the devices that are plugged into it. Without an authentic teacher, the students cannot receive the Dharma current. Students, however, take refuge in the Dharma current, not in the teacher or the outlet strip itself. Here's another way of remembering what to look for in the teacher-student relationship. We can say that a seeker on the Buddhist path is receiving encouragement or exhortation from two directions. Behind the seeker is a dispatcher saying, "Go." At the same time, ahead of the seeker is a welcomer saying, "Come." You might recall from the talk I gave here in April, who are the figures represented by these two voices. Now, as you think about that, let me bring this slide up again to remind us of the parable of the two rivers and the white path. In the parable, a traveler is journeying toward the west, fleeing from danger when he comes upon a fearsome sight, a river of fire extending to the south and a river of water extending to the north. A slender white path stretches to the opposite bank, but it appears too narrow for him to safely venture out. Still, the traveler concludes, because this path already exists, it must be possible to cross. Suddenly, a voice coming from behind the traveler calls out, "O traveler, just resolve to follow this path forward." At the same moment, a voice from the opposite shore calls out, "O traveler, with single-mindedness come at once." By now, you may recollect the identities of the two voices. Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, is the dispatcher, exhorting the seeker to advance on the path. Amita Buddha, symbol of the world of awakening, encourages the seeker to come at once. The white path itself represents our mind of aspiration, threatened on either side by the passions of greed and anger. Now, carrying this into present-day terms, we can think about the authentic teacher-student relationship in the context of the parable. Shakyamuni, the dispatcher, is represented by our present-day teachers. What they are saying is, go, don't take refuge in me, take refuge in the Dharma. The welcomer is still Amida Buddha, saying, come at once with single-mindedness. Here, it's fine to think of the human-like figure of Amida, symbol of the world of awakening. However, it may be more accurate to say that the welcomer is actually the name, or myogo, Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu is not a physical object, like a statue. Hence, you may want to think of the name as a command rather than as a symbol. The true welcomer to the Buddhist world of awakening is the command itself. Come at once with single-mindedness. Namo Amidabutsu. I hope this has given you some ways to think about the teacher-student relationship and to recognize the characteristics of an authentic Buddhist teacher. Thank you for listening.